Run away.
Good afternoon, Leeds. Welcome to Leeds Carnival 2019. We got the big bands coming down the road.
Okay, right. My name is Hughbon Condor. I'm the artistic director of High Esteem Carnival Arts. And we have two directors, myself and my son, Seth Condor. We officially formed the company back in 2016, registered as a company with the company's house. But prior to that, we have been doing work as High Esteem, like maybe 3 years before that. But prior to that, I have been working as an independent artist under my name, Hughbon Condor, for many, many years. I think back in 1987 was the first actual paid work I did. Prior to that, I was doing it voluntary, specifically for Leeds Carnival, from 1970 to 1987. Yeah.
Oh, so when was the first, do you remember the first time you actually got involved hands-on? What was the first year?
Yeah, 1970.
And what were you doing that particular time?
Okay. Well, that particular year, I was working with a friend of mine called James Brown, and we designed and made a Queen costume, which I can't even remember the name of it now. But one thing I did remember of it was that it had like two side wings, and they open and close. And I've always been, from that point onwards, I've always been, in a sense, obsessed with mechanics, about the idea of things transforming, moving to create more of a show than just a static still costume.
Okay, and in general, what's your inspiration for doing this? Because it's not like as if you do it just around carnival time. There is no such thing around carnival time, really. It's all year round.
Yeah.
But what's your inspiration for going for so long? Because 40 years is a long time.
Yeah, it was almost 50 years next year. I don't know. I often hear Arthur Franz talking about, it's our culture. And maybe he's right about that, that it is because I want to develop the arts. I want to ensure that the culture of carnival has maintained at a certain standard. I think I've seen too many examples of people sort of like just putting on a pretty piece of cloth, and jumping around and saying this is all carnival. And whilst that does have a certain place in carnival, I think equally important is that the strengths that I have as an individual, as a designer, as a mechanical engineer, it's important that I also bring that to carnival as well, to ensure that there's that element as well that complements the other style of costumes that other people bring to carnival. Well, I first of all have to be respectful of the people who bring pretty mass, because in a sense, I think I heard someone describe it as this, right? Pretty mass is like the jeans of carnival. You can wear jeans in any venue nowadays. Yeah. It's seen as like a standard acceptable outfit. But at the end of the day, it's still just the jeans, so tuxedos and so on almost get pushed out or become very specialist. So to some degree, I think pretty mass is like supplying the masses in terms of what they need and what they find interesting. and I fully understand that. I mean, I was playing mass in Barbados last year, and you know, I could see the dilemma that the designers have, you know, where they want to portray a certain theme and a certain idea, and the people playing mass just want to have fun. You know, let's get some drinks down and have a good time, some good music, and they're off. So that pursuit of excellence in terms of portrayal doesn't necessarily become very evident with all the mass players, and hence the reason why, you know, a lot of people just come along, are happy to pay a lot of money, you know, for their costumes as well, just to have bikini, feathers and beads as part of Carnival.
In terms of the work that you do, how beneficial do you think it would be to young children to get more involved in this art?
I think the idea of inspiring other people is something that is outside of your control. You know, either people are inspired by what you do, and it's not because you inspire them, it's because they're inspired by what you do. So I like to think that some people are inspired by the type of work that we do, in terms of, you know, providing much more structured costumes, something that says a lot more than just, you know, the bikini and beads type outfit. I think only time will tell whether or not, you know, you get other people who want to pursue this level of artistry in terms of their costume designs. I mean, clearly, you know, I'm influenced by groups like Mahogany, you know, who just goes the extra mile, you know, in terms of their portrayal, in terms of the pursuit of excellence, in terms of, you know, making it much more than just a fun costume, but, you know, a costume that says and does what it says on the label, you know.
What has been some of your most proudest moments as a mass man? Like some of maybe your favourite project or a favourite carnival because of the amount of work you put into it. What's been your most favourite project?
Well, I suppose over 50 years, maybe I can make reference to
Yes, it could be a whole stretch.
Sorry. To quite a lot. I think one of, okay, I'll talk about maybe about 3 proudest moments, just to minimize it. I think the first one was back in 1987, when I just finished making a peacock, interesting enough, the same peacock I'm remaking this year. And I was on the stage in the park at Leeds Carnival when this man came to me and he said, "Look, I want you to work with us next year." He was from Huddersfield. I said, "Yeah, sure." You know, and obviously I've heard people say that before and hadn't really thought much more about it. And then just before Christmas, he rang me and he said, "Can we come and meet you?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And there was this like 5 people came along to my house, just wanted to talk about, you know, me designing for them. And it was like, whoa, this is good. These guys are really serious. And you know, since that point, I've designed for them for about maybe 15, 20 years. And it was really good having that kind of relationship, you know, where I was then able to pursue what I enjoyed doing, and that was designing and making prototypes, designing and making king and queen costumes, but the actual mass production of them in terms of, you know, sticking beads and so on, it's not what I do. Other people do that, and they would follow my instructions exactly. So in a sense, that gave me a wonderful opportunity to do what I enjoy doing, and which obviously complement my skill set, and allow other people and influence lots of other people in the same way. Okay, that's one of the moments. I suppose a second moment was when I designed a costume called the boat. Now, up to that point, I remember being criticized by other designers saying, "Well, the only reason why you win is because your costume transforms and it does things, you know. So that's your strength. You can't make a normal costume." I thought, okay, it's a challenge for me, and so I went away and I designed this boat. So when she came on, it looked like a boat. It didn't transform. That's exactly what it did, just a boat. But the thing about this boat was that it had like 3 different masks. Each mask had about 4 different sails on. The girl carried it on her shoulder. There was a sea around the boat. So when she actually moved, the sea sort of bounces as well. In fact, one woman commented that when she looked at the boat, she feels seasick by the way the waves move. And so for me, that was quite good, being able to in effect respond and answer the critics about, I could only make costume that transforms, and allows me to make one that just didn't really do any transformation, but it had a lot of movements. Another very proud moment was one with Hughbon here, my son. He actually designed and made a costume, and I'm sure if you ask him, he'll tell you a lot more about it, but he did actually design and made a costume for himself and his cousin, and I think it was his son. And I looked at it and I thought, that's a nice costume. I wouldn't mind wearing one of those. I suddenly realized that my son is now designing costumes that I'm comfortable in wearing. And it was a really, really good, proud moment to be able to be, part of that group that he was leading, that I could, just get submerged in without having that responsibility of leadership, but also knowing that I'm in good company and the quality of costume was excellent. So that was a really good time.
Just to bridge on that, I just wanted to ask, what's it like working alongside your son and also your grandson, in fact? What's he laughing?
Yeah, I suppose he's laughing because we have evolved, I'm guilty of utilizing my kids as cheap labor when they were younger. I would design and make things and give them specific instructions during the school holiday to cut out and stake and do certain things. Well, I have two children, right? A daughter and a son. And my daughter, she would do exactly what I asked her. She'd get on with it. I'd come back, and my son Hughbon, he would have some excuse as to why he hadn't done what I asked him to do. And he would make suggestions about doing it different ways. I'm thinking, I don't need any suggestions. I just want you to do what I ask you to do. End of story. And I hadn't realized that has been my approach, towards costume making, that I just give people instructions and expect them to follow it fully. Until one occasion we were being interviewed by the BBC, and we were both talking about our relationship, and he mentioned the fact that I had a way of my way or no way, or the highway. And I have to say, up to that point, I hadn't realized, that I was so specific about the way I did things. And what he wanted to do was develop his own style, have his own identity. And I think up to that point, I hadn't realized that. And he, since then, has become a designer in his own right and has his own style. And I'm very happy to work with him. I remember once, asking him who is a better designer, and he claimed to be. But at the end of the day, we are a team, and we learn from each other. I'm very happy that I have this opportunity of creating new ideas every year. And it's not a question of repeating the same thing. I mean, you can see certain people with certain style of costume, right? And sometimes just simply change the color and bring the same thing the following year. I'm very proud to say that has never been the case with us. We've always innovate and bring out new designs, new materials, new processes. And that's what really, in a sense, inspires me as a designer to carry on designing. I've always said, if I got to a point where I ran out of ideas, I would just pack up. Yeah, I mean, ideas comes from various sources. I remember one of my earlier costumes was inspired by a visit to the tropical garden, where I saw a sea anemone on the way out, and I claim I didn't see it on my way in. And my wife said, well, it's because it was closed. And then when outside, when it was open, with all these tentacles, and I thought, that's a good idea. I'll design a costume around that. So I went and designed a costume around the sea anemone. I spoke about the boat. One of my most challenging costumes I made was a costume called Man on Horseback. And I was inspired by what my grandmother used to say to me as a boy. You know, she used to say, "Man on horseback, now I see that." So when we were, in effect, celebrating the bicentenary of the abolition of slavery, I had the opportunity then to design that to show my connection with slavery, and it was about the overseer in the fields when the slaves were working, and the man on the horse would be the overseer, and the slave can get away with certain misdemeanor, while the man on the horse didn't see them. So I designed a full-size horse with a man on the horse and the slave girl, and enact a whole process of liberation, by the queen, who pulls the man off the horse, and then she climbs on the horse and bring the horse down to a reared position. So, my inspiration came from my grandmother. But I'm inspired by lots of different things. It's hard to just say one or the other. I remember designing a costume around a chapter in the Bible. It says, you have a lamp, you shouldn't hide it on the bushel, you should put it on the stand for the whole world to see. So I designed a costume of a massive bushel. She came out under this bushel, and then she climbed on the stand, and the bushel opened, and showed complete lights, massive costume.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, I base it on what used to happen in London, but I realised it doesn't happen anymore. How important is the Kings and Queens show to your carnival?
In Leeds, it is quite a significant part of the whole carnival in Leeds. That show that happens tomorrow on the Friday, just before the Monday, in a sense, just highlights, the best in terms of costume designs, and it gives everyone an opportunity to sit down in a relaxed atmosphere and to enjoy, carnival in terms of kings and queens and winning princes and princesses as well. So that's quite important. It sort of sets the scene. So come Monday, you already had the king and queen being judged, who the winners are, and people look out for those kind of things. So, it is quite a significant part of the whole carnival.
And as Leeds is the oldest carnival in Britain,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask, is Leeds Carnival in a healthy state, and do you see it being in a healthy state for years to come?
It's just a moment in time, isn't it? I can make a couple of comments about that. I think Leeds Carnival has been very fortunate that it has had the leadership under Arthur France, and although he's been, in a sense, one of the key leaders of the carnival for 50 odd years, it was through his personality and his level of persuasion, his ability to get people to do things, that has brought it that far. Now, I think, more looking ahead, the challenge is going to be slightly different, because there are lots of regulations now, about crowds, on the roads, and also there's lots of risk as well in terms of people using that particular activity to then make protests and so on. So there's always a massive risk in terms of carnival continuing. Well, what I have noticed though is that lots of other carnivals that used to be around has I just would died, but maybe no longer exists. Mm-hmm. And clearly funding is an issue. The government has cut back on many other activities. So, to not cut back on carnival is, why should they not do that? Mm-hmm. But I think that, in my opinion anyway, that communities should recognize that it does cost money to put carnival on, and they should be more willing to contribute towards the upkeep of carnival. And so I think if people in Leeds, for example, were to contribute a small amount, maybe even just £2, each person who comes to carnival, that could give carnival a wonderful base, to work, to have funding for the following year. But, we have unfortunately been brought up in an environment where we think it's someone else's responsibility to provide the funding for our entertainment. And to get that kind of culture change and culture shift does require some work. I hope it happens, because that's the only way we're going to survive. If we continue to rely on handout from other people, then it just ain't going to happen. Yeah. So it's just not going to happen. The Arts Council is another funding body which, again, has contributed to Leeds Carnival quite a lot in the past. But again, that funding, unless you're a regularly funded organization, then when you apply for funding, 1 year you might be successful, on the other year you're not. So how do you plan and have that continuity is becomes very, very difficult.
I have literally 2 more questions. I know that from what you told me, you came to England when you were 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What impact, not necessarily just on maths, but you as a person, has that foundation in St. Kitts, that your Kittitian heritage had on your art and you as a person?
Yeah. Sometimes when you are who you are, you don't realize the differences until you actually compare yourself with others. And so I often look at people who were born here opposed to being born in the Caribbean. And often you could see there's a sort of difference in attitude. I think being brought up in the West Indies has given me a much stronger foundation to work from. I mean, I grew up in an environment where everyone in charge were black. In this country, when I first came, everyone in charge were white. So it's like, we had no significance when I came here, but yet still I knew better because I came from the Caribbean, and I knew, the police officers, the teachers, everyone actually held a position who were black. And so, I think a lot of people who were born here haven't got that understanding that we can achieve whatever we want because those positions are open to everybody and not just the people that we see in charge, who often, in a lot of cases, are white people.
The very last question I have to ask you is, I love asking this question, but I also dislike asking this question. What is that everybody eventually has to transition, like leave Earth or however you want to see it. Maybe when they look at the history books in like 100 years, what would you like to be remembered for? What would you like your legacy to be?
Well, in terms of Carnival?
It could be Carnival, it could be life.
That's a difficult question.
It is, that's why I always give it.
I suppose if I answer that in terms of Carnival, I'd like to be remembered as a person who always pursue excellence in terms of costume designs and would go that extra mile. Someone who is innovative and creative. I mean, creative is okay, but to be innovative as well is I think is one of my strengths. And I hope people recognize that I don't just simply copy what other people have done. I have this ability to see things from a totally new and clear perspective. So that's from a Carnival point of view. From a general life point of view, because I've never answered this question before, it's hard to put into words. But I guess being remembered for my honesty and ability to help others might be one of the things I'd like to think that I do well and might be remembered for. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank
no
you.
problem.
I'm done. Thanks.
All right.
That's some really good questions.
Thanks you.
That's been interviewed a lot. Both of us have been interviewed a lot of times. And I was sat there and I was going, that's a really good question. And I even looked at, that's a really good question. That's some really good question. You know what I was worth it.
Do you know what question I wanted to ask off camera? I know it's normally one follows the other, but why are there so many Kittitians in Leeds?
I got the same boat at the same time.
Oh.